Zara Williams stared at the Instagram post until her vision blurred. The photo showed a beautiful Korean woman in a designer dress, laughing at something off-camera. Her hand rested on a man's chest, a hand that displayed a diamond ring so large it could probably pay Zara's rent for a year. The man's face wasn't visible in the shot, but Zara didn't need to see it. The caption told her everything. He finally put a ring on it. Ring wedding bells this December. Hashtag future Kong bride, hashtag Seoul society, hashtag lucky in love. Kong Tamine. Her Tamine. Or rather, the man who used to be hers. From the bedroom, Zara heard her daughter stirring. 4-year-old Hannah had Tamine's eyes. Deep brown, almost black, with long lashes that made strangers stop and comment. She had his nose, his smile, his stubborn chin. Every time Zara looked at her daughter, she saw the man who had destroyed her. "Mommy!" Hannah appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes, her black hair sticking up in all directions.
"I'm hungry."
Zara closed her laptop quickly, forcing a smile. "Let's make pancakes, baby." As she mixed the batter, her mind drifted back. Something she tried not to do, but failed at daily. She'd met Tamine 9 years ago in Los Angeles. Zara had been 23, working as a waitress while trying to make it as a photographer. Tamine had walked into the restaurant with a group of Korean businessmen, all sharp suits and expensive watches. But while his companions had been loud and demanding, Tamine had been quiet, polite, thanking her in accented English every time she refilled his water. When he'd asked for her number at the end of the night, she'd almost said no. Zara had dated enough to know that rich men usually wanted one thing from women like her. But something in his eyes had seemed genuine. Their first date had been to a photography exhibit in downtown LA. Tamine had listened intently as she talked about composition and lighting, asking questions that showed he actually cared about her answers. By the end of the night, she was smitten. "I have to tell you something," he'd said as they sat in his car outside her apartment. "My family, they're complicated. My father runs a business in Korea. A very specific kind of business." "What kind?" Zara had asked. He'd looked at her for a long moment. "The kind that makes people nervous. The kind that means I have to be careful about who I trust." She should have walked away then. But she was 23 and in love, and his mysteriousness had only made him more attractive. For 8 years they'd built a life together. Tamine split his time between LA and Seoul, and Zara had learned to live with his absences. She'd learned Korean, practiced until she could have basic conversations with his mother on video calls. She'd learned to make his favorite foods, learned about Korean culture, learned to love Seoul during her visits there. His family had been cold at first, especially his father, a stern man with calculating eyes who looked at Zara like she was a problem to be solved. But his mother had warmed to her eventually, or so Zara had thought. They'd never discussed the exact nature of the Kong family business, but Zara had seen enough. The men in black suits who were always nearby, the hushed phone calls, the way people treated Tamine with a mixture of respect and fear. She hadn't cared. She'd loved him. When she'd gotten pregnant at 29, she'd been terrified but excited. They weren't married, but they'd talked about it. Tamine had promised her forever. She'd called him in Seoul, her hands shaking as she held the positive pregnancy test. "Tamine, I need to tell you something. I'm pregnant," he'd finished quietly. "I know. My mother saw your Google searches on your laptop last time you were here. You know? Then what do we do?" There had been a long pause. "I need to handle some things here first. Stay in LA. I'll come to you in a few weeks. We'll figure this out together." But he hadn't come in a few weeks. He hadn't come at all. His calls had become less frequent, then stopped altogether. His texts had grown shorter, then ceased. When Zara had tried to fly to Seoul in her second trimester, security at the Kong family compound had turned her away. She'd stood outside those gates for 3 hours, calling Tamine's phone over and over, until a security guard had finally told her in broken English. Mr. Kong says you go home. He send money. No contact. The money had arrived. A wire transfer large enough to cover her medical expenses and more. Hush money. Severance pay for 8 years of her life. She'd given birth alone, her mother and sister by her side. But no Tamine. She'd named the baby Hannah, Korean for one, or flower, hoping that somehow the name would keep her daughter connected to a heritage her father had abandoned. For 4 years, she'd tried to move on. She'd thrown herself into her photography, built a modest but successful business. She'd dated briefly, half-heartedly, but no one measured up to the ghost of what she'd had. More accurately, no one wanted to deal with the baggage of a single mother whose ex was a Korean mob heir. She'd thought she was healing. She'd thought she was over him. Then she'd seen that Instagram post, and all the old wounds had ripped open. "Mommy, you're burning the pancakes," Hannah said, pulling Zara back to the present. "Oh shoot." Zara flipped the pancake, which was indeed black on one side. She scraped it into the trash and started over. As Hannah ate her breakfast, Zara's phone buzzed. A text from her best friend, Keisha. "Girl, please tell me you didn't see that post. Too late for that." Another text, "Don't do anything stupid. He's not worth it." But as Zara watched Hannah carefully cut her pancakes with a plastic knife, she thought about all the nights her daughter had asked about her daddy, about all the times she'd had to be both mother and father, about the struggling and scraping and fighting to build a life while Tamine had moved on as if they'd never existed. He'd told his new fiancée about her. The caption on another post had referenced past relationships and starting fresh. But Zara would bet everything she had that he hadn't mentioned Hannah. The Kong family wouldn't want that scandal attached to their precious heirs society wedding. A dangerous thought began to form in Zara's mind. Over the next 3 weeks, Zara fell into a social media rabbit hole. The bride-to-be was named Park Minji, daughter of a prominent Seoul businessman. Her Instagram was a perfectly curated collection of designer outfits, expensive brunches, and carefully staged couple photos with Tamine. His face always partially hidden or turned away, as if he was too important to fully show himself to the world. Minji was beautiful in that polished, untouchable way of wealthy Korean women. Perfect skin, perfect hair, perfect life. She'd gone to Colombia, worked briefly at her father's company, and seemed to spend most of her time shopping and attending charity galas. Zara hated her, then felt guilty for hating her, because Minji was probably as much a victim of Tamine's lies as Zara had been. The wedding was set for December 18th at the Shilla Hotel in Seoul. Based on the engagement party photos Minji had posted, it would be an enormous affair, easily 500 guests. Traditional Korean ceremony followed by a Western-style reception. Zara knew she was being crazy. Flying to Seoul to crash a wedding was the kind of thing that happened in movies, not real life. But every time she talked herself out of it, she'd see Hannah drawing pictures of families at preschool. Mothers and fathers and children holding hands, and the anger would rise up again, hot and consuming. He'd left them. He'd erased them from his life like they were nothing. She wanted him to know they existed. She wanted his perfect bride to know. She wanted everyone in his privileged world to know that Kang Tamine was a liar and a coward. "You're really going to do this?" Keisha said when Zara told her the plan. They were sitting in Zara's tiny living room, Hannah asleep in the next room. "I have to." "No, you don't. You could take the high road. You could move on with your life." "You could." "He ruined my life, Keisha." Zara's voice cracked. "I was 23 when I met him. I gave him everything. I learned his language, adapted to his culture, accepted that his business meant he had to disappear for weeks at a time. I looked the other way when suspicious men showed up at our door. I loved him despite all of it. And the second things got complicated, The second I needed him to step up, he threw me away like garbage. Keisha sighed. I know, honey. I know. But think about Hannah. Do you really want to drag her into this? Into his world. She's already in his world. She's his daughter. He's the one pretending she doesn't exist. And when you show up at this wedding, then what? You think he's going to suddenly want to be a father? You think his family is going to welcome Hannah with open arms? These are dangerous people, Zara. You said so yourself. Zara had thought about this late at night when sleep wouldn't come. The Kong family wasn't just wealthy. They were powerful in ways that made her uneasy. Tamine had never explicitly told her what his father did, but she'd pieced it together from overheard conversations and careful observation. Protection rackets, gambling, money laundering, possibly worse. Taking on that kind of family was risky, possibly stupid. But Zara was tired of being invisible, tired of being the shameful secret, tired of watching her daughter grow up without a father while Tamine played happy families with someone new. I'm not going there to ask for anything, Zara said quietly. I'm not going to beg him to be in Hannah's life. I need him to acknowledge her. I need everyone to know the truth. I need him to face what he did. You need revenge, Keisha said bluntly. Yes, Zara admitted. I need revenge. The plane landed at Incheon International Airport on December 17th, one day before the wedding. Hannah pressed her face against the window as they descended, watching the lights of Seoul spread out below them. Is this where you met Daddy? She asked. Zara's heart clenched. She told Hannah carefully edited versions of the truth. That her father lived far away, that things were complicated, that it wasn't Hannah's fault they weren't together. She'd never explicitly said they were going to see him, but Hannah was smart enough to have figured it out. Sort of, Zara said. Mommy met your daddy in America, but his family lives here. Will I meet them? Maybe, baby. Maybe. They checked into a modest hotel in Gangnam. Nothing like the luxury Zara had experienced during her visits with Tamine, but clean and comfortable. Zara had blown most of her savings on the plane tickets and hotel, a fact that made this revenge mission feel both more justified and more insane. That night, after Hannah fell asleep, Zara sat by the window looking out at the Seoul skyline. Somewhere out there, Tamine was probably at his bachelor party or having a quiet dinner with Minji, completely unaware that the woman he'd discarded and the daughter he'd never met were in the same city. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know you're in Seoul. Zara's blood ran cold. She stared at the message, her mind racing. How could anyone possibly know? Another text. We need to talk. Tomorrow. Before you do something you'll regret. JK. John Kwan, one of Tamine's cousins and his right-hand man in the family business. Zara had met him several times during her years with Tamine. A quiet, observant man who'd always treated her with polite distance. How did you know I'm here? She typed back. You used your credit card at Incheon. We monitor financial activity related to the family. Meet me at Café Dior in Cheongdam-dong tomorrow at 10 a.m. Come alone. Zara's hands shook. She'd been naive to think she could just show up in Seoul without the Kong family knowing. They had resources she couldn't imagine, eyes everywhere. But she wasn't going to back down now. Fine, she replied. But I'm not changing my mind about tomorrow. We'll see, came the response. The next morning, Zara left Hannah with a hotel babysitter, a college student who came highly recommended by the concierge, and took a taxi to Cheongdam-dong, one of Seoul's wealthiest neighborhoods. Café Dior was exactly what she expected. Sleek, expensive, full of women in designer clothes sipping overpriced lattes. John Kwan sat at a corner table, looking the same as she remembered. Late 30s, handsome in a sharp-featured way, dressed in an impeccable dark suit. "Zara," he said, standing as she approached. "You look well. I wish I could say the same about seeing you." He gestured to the seat across from him. A cappuccino was already waiting. "I remembered you like these." She didn't touch the coffee. "What do you want, Kwan?" "To ask you not to do what you're planning to do." "And what exactly am I planning?" "To crash Tamine's wedding. To bring your daughter. To make a scene." He leaned forward. "It won't work out the way you think. You don't know what I think. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. Tamine handled things poorly." "Poorly?" Zara's voice rose, causing nearby patrons to glance over. She lowered it. "He abandoned his pregnant girlfriend. He refused to even see his own child. Poorly doesn't begin to cover it." Kwan's expression remained neutral. "The situation was more complicated than you understand." "Then explain it to me." He was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "Tamine's father has expectations. About family. About bloodlines. About who is acceptable for the Kong name." "You mean I wasn't acceptable because I'm black?" "I mean you weren't acceptable for many reasons. Your race was part of it, yes. But also your background, your nationality, your lack of connections. The Kong family doesn't just marry for love. They marry for strategy. So Minji is strategic. Park Minji's father controls shipping routes throughout East Asia. Her family has political connections at the highest levels. A marriage between the Kangs and the Parks solidifies power on both sides. It's been in negotiation for years." Zara's stomach turned. "Years? We were still together years ago." "Yes. So while Tamine was telling me he loved me, while we were planning a future together, his family was arranging a marriage to someone else?" "Tamine fought it initially," Kwan said quietly. "He wanted to be with you, but when you got pregnant, his father gave him an ultimatum. End things with you, marry Minji, or be cut off from the family entirely. And he chose them. He chose survival. The Kong family isn't something you just walk away from. You know what we are, what we do. People who try to leave don't usually fare well." Zara had suspected this, but hearing it confirmed made her feel sick. "So I was just collateral damage in a mob power play."
I'm sorry.
"Truly. If it matters, Tamine does think about you. About your daughter. Hannah. Her name is Hannah." Kwan nodded. "Hannah. He knows about her. He's been monitoring the situation." "Monitoring?" The word tasted bitter. "Is that what you call it?" "He sends money every month into an account I never asked for and refused to touch. That's not being a father. That's paying to keep me quiet." "Perhaps. But it's also his way of taking care of you from a distance." "I don't want to be taken care of from a distance." Zara's hands clenched into fists. "I want him to look his daughter in the eye. I want him to admit what he did. I want everyone at that wedding to know the truth about who Kong Tamine really is." Kwan sighed. "If you do this, there will be consequences. The Kong family doesn't appreciate public embarrassment. They will retaliate." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm warning you. There's a difference." He pulled an envelope from his jacket and slid it across the table. "There's a check in here. Enough to set you and Hannah up comfortably. A trust fund for her education, money for a house, whatever you need. Take it and go home." Zara stared at the envelope like it was a snake. "You're trying to buy me off." "I'm trying to protect you. And your daughter." "From what?" "From making an enemy of one of the most powerful families in Seoul. From ruining any chance Hannah might have of ever knowing her father. From—" He paused. "From getting hurt." The threat was barely veiled now. Zara felt her courage waver for the first time. She thought about Hannah, back at the hotel, probably watching cartoons and eating overpriced room service. Then she thought about 4 years of bedtime stories where Hannah asked about her daddy. 4 years of birthday parties where a father should have been. 4 years of being erased. "No," she said, standing up. "I'm not taking your blood money, and I'm not backing down. Tell Tamine I'll see him at the wedding." She walked out of the cafe, her heart pounding, Kwan's envelope still sitting on the table. The Shilla Hotel was even more magnificent than the photos had suggested. Zara stood outside with Hannah, both of them dressed in their best. Zara in a simple black dress that had cost 3 months of careful saving. Hannah in a burgundy velvet dress that made her look like a little princess. "It's so pretty, Mommy," Hannah whispered, staring up at the grand entrance where a steady stream of guests in designer clothes were arriving. "It is, baby." Zara's courage was failing. Security guards stood at every entrance, checking invitations. She had no plan for getting inside, had assumed she could somehow bluff her way through. But looking at the setup, she realized how foolish that was. "Excuse me, miss?" A young woman in a staff uniform approached them. "Are you Zara Williams?" Zara's heart stopped. "Yes." The woman smiled and handed her an envelope. "Someone left this for you at the front desk." With shaking hands, Zara opened it. Inside was a wedding invitation with her name written in elegant calligraphy, and a note in Korean that she slowly translated. "Third row, left side. Don't say I never helped you. J.K. John Kwan." He'd given her a way in. "Come on, baby," Zara said, taking Hannah's hand. "We're going to a wedding." The ceremony was in a stunning ballroom decorated entirely in white and gold. Hundreds of guests filled the seats, Seoul's elite, dressed in traditional hanbok and designer suits. Zara and Hannah sat in the third row as instructed, drawing curious glances from nearby guests who clearly didn't recognize them. At the front, Tamine stood at the altar in a traditional Korean groom's attire. Even from a distance, Zara could see he looked the same. Perhaps a bit older, a bit more hardened, but still heartbreakingly handsome. Hannah tugged on Zara's sleeve. "Mommy, is that?" "Shoo, baby. Just watch." Music swelled, and Minji appeared at the back of the room. She was breathtaking in a traditional white hanbok embroidered with gold thread, her hair styled in an elaborate updo. As she walked down the aisle, Zara saw Tamine's face, saw something she recognized. Not love exactly. Resignation, maybe. Duty. He didn't love Minji. This was exactly what Kwan had said. A strategic marriage, a business arrangement dressed up as a fairy tale. The traditional ceremony proceeded in Korean, most of which Zara could follow. The officiant spoke about family, duty, honoring ancestors. Tamine and Minji performed the traditional bows, drank from the ceremonial cup, went through all the motions. Then came the moment Zara had been waiting for, the modern addition to Korean weddings, borrowed from the West. "If anyone has any reason why these two should not be married," the officiant said in Korean, "speak now or forever hold your peace." The room was silent. This was always just a formality, an empty ritual. No one ever actually objected. Zara stood up. The sound of her movement echoed in the quiet room. Hundreds of heads turned. She felt Tamine's eyes on her, saw the exact moment recognition hit him. His face went white. "I object," she said in Korean, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Minji turned, confused. Tamine's father, sitting in the front row, rose to his feet, his face thunderous. "Who are you?" the officiant asked, clearly shaken. Zara picked up Hannah, settling her daughter on her hip. The little girl clung to her, frightened by the sudden attention. "My name is Zara Williams," she said, still in Korean, though her accent was obvious. "And I'm here because the groom, Kang Tamine, has been lying to all of you." "Security!" Tamine's father barked. Wait, Zara said quickly, before anyone could move. Before you throw us out, don't you want to know the truth? Don't you want to know about Tamine's daughter? The room erupted. Voices rose in shock and confusion. Tamine stood frozen at the altar. Minji turned to look at him, her face a mask of confusion. Tamine, she said quietly. What is she talking about? His voice cracked. Minji, I can explain. Explain what? Minji's voice rose. Explain that you have a child? Did you know about this? Tamine didn't answer, which was answer enough. Zara walked down the aisle, every eye on her and Hannah. She stopped a few feet from the altar. Tell them, she said to Tamine in English. Tell your bride. Tell your family. Tell everyone the truth. Hannah, who had been quiet until now, looked at the man in the ceremonial robes. Mommy? She whispered, loud enough for those nearby to hear. Is that my daddy? The question hit like a bomb. Several guests pulled out their phones, cameras already recording. Tomorrow, this would be all over Korean social media. The Kang family's dirty secret, exposed for everyone to see. Tamine's mother covered her mouth with her hand. His father looked ready to murder someone, probably Zara. But it was Minji who spoke next. Is this true? She asked Tamine, her voice deadly calm. Is that your daughter? Minji, please, let me explain. Is that your daughter? Tamine looked at Hannah, really looked at her, for the first time. Zara saw something crack in his expression. Recognition, regret, maybe even love. Yes, he whispered. Yes, she's mine. Minji stepped back as if she'd been slapped. You told me there was no one else. You told me your past was over. You promised me. Her voice broke. I didn't know how to tell you, Tamine said desperately. My father, he made me. Your father made you abandon your child? Minji's eyes flashed. Your father made you lie to me for a year? Your father made you build our entire relationship on deception. The family needed this marriage. The family. Minji laughed, a bitter sound. It's always about the family, isn't it? She turned to her father, who sat in the front row looking furious. Did you know about this? Her father's silence was answer enough. Minji's hands shook as she removed her ceremonial headpiece. Mississippi Park, Tamine's father began. Don't. Minji cut him off. Don't you dare speak to me. You knew. You all knew. And you let me walk into this farce thinking I was marrying an honest man. She turned to Zara. The two women looked at each other. Both betrayed. Both lied to. Both victims of the Kang family's machinations. I'm sorry, Zara said quietly. I know this isn't your fault. But I couldn't let him pretend we don't exist anymore. What's your daughter's name? Minji asked. Hannah. Hannah, Minji repeated softly. She looked at the little girl, who was clinging to Zara's neck, overwhelmed by the chaos. She has his eyes. Yes. Minji turned back to Tamine, and Zara saw the moment her heart hardened. I'm calling off the wedding. Minji, please. No. No more. I won't marry a man who could abandon his own child. I won't marry into a family that values business over human decency. I won't. Her voice cracked. I won't let myself become like you. She walked past him, past her parents, past the hundreds of shocked guests. The ballroom doors closed behind her with a resounding thud. For a moment no one moved. Then Tamine's father spoke, his voice cold and controlled. Get them out of here. Now. Security guards moved toward Zara, but Tamine held up a hand. Stop. He stepped down from the altar and walked toward Zara and Hannah. This close, Zara could see the years had aged him. Lines around his eyes, gray threading through his black hair. He looked tired. "Hannah," he said softly. "Your name is Hannah." The little girl looked at him with wide eyes. "Are you my daddy?" Tamine's face crumpled. "Yes," he whispered. "I am." "Where have you been?" The simple, innocent question destroyed him. Zara watched as tears filled his eyes. Tamine, who never cried, who prided himself on control. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry isn't enough," Zara said. "You don't get to cry and be forgiven. You left us. You erased us. You moved on like we never existed." I know, and He looked at his father, who was watching with fury radiating from every line of his body. "I was a coward. My father said if I didn't end things with you, I'd lose everything. The family, the business, my place in this world. And I chose wrong. I chose them over you, over our daughter, and I will regret it for the rest of my life." "You should," Zara said. "I think about you every day, both of you. The money I send. I never touched it. We don't want your guilt money." "Then what do you want?" His voice was raw. "Tell me what you want, and I'll give it to you." Zara looked around the ruined wedding. At the shocked guests, the cameras still recording, the family members whispering urgently. She'd come here for revenge. To destroy Tamine's perfect new life the way he'd destroyed hers. She'd succeeded. The wedding was ruined. His reputation was shattered. By tomorrow, everyone in Seoul would know about the Kang family's scandal. But standing here, holding her daughter while watching Tamine cry, she felt no triumph, just exhaustion. "I want you to acknowledge her," Zara said finally. "I want you to stop pretending she doesn't exist. I want her to know her heritage, to know where she comes from. I want you to be a father, or at least try." "I will," Tamine said immediately. "I'll do whatever you need, whatever Hannah needs." "Tamine," his father's voice cracked like a whip. "You will not make promises to this woman. This situation will be handled through lawyers and appropriate channels." "The family. I don't care about the family," Tamine shouted, turning on his father. The room went dead silent. No one spoke to Kang chairman like that. "For years I've done what you wanted. I ended things with the woman I loved. I agreed to this marriage. I became the son you demanded. And for what? To preserve some legacy built on fear and violence? To continue a business that ruins lives? I'm done. If you walk away from this family, you have nothing," his father said coldly. "No money, no protection, no future. They will destroy you. Then they destroy me. But I won't abandon my daughter again." The two men stared at each other, and Zara saw the moment the patriarch realized he'd lost. His son had finally found something he cared about more than power. Tamine turned back to Zara and Hannah. "I know I have no right to ask this, but can we talk? Not here, somewhere private. I want to know her. To know what I've missed." Zara looked down at Hannah, who was staring at Tamine with curious, hopeful eyes. This was what her daughter had wanted for so long. A father. "One conversation," Zara said. "And then we'll see." They met the next day in a quiet park in Seoul, far from the scandal that was now exploding across Korean media. Zara had checked the news that morning. The wedding disaster was everywhere, with headlines screaming about the Kang family's secret heir and hidden scandals. Tamine looked different in jeans and a simple jacket, more like the man she'd fallen in love with years ago. Hannah ran ahead to the playground while Zara and Tamine sat on a bench, watching her. "She's beautiful," Tamine said softly. "She looks like you. She looks like you too. Everyone says so." They sat in awkward silence. For years of anger and pain and unanswered questions hung between them. "I don't know where to start," Tamine admitted. How do I make up for 4 years? You don't, Zara said bluntly. You can't give her back the birthdays you missed, the first words, the first steps. You can't erase the nights she cried for a daddy who wasn't there. You can't fix what you broke. Then what can I do? You can start now. You can be honest with her. You can show up consistently, even when it's hard. You can prove that you're different than you were. I am different. Yesterday, standing at that altar, realizing I was about to marry someone I didn't love to please a family that only values power, I saw my whole future and it was empty. Then you walked in with Hannah, and I realized what I'd given up. That's not enough, Tamine. You can't just have some dramatic realization and expect everything to be okay. I know I have to earn this. Earn the right to know her, to be in her life. He paused. Minji called me this morning. Is she okay? She's angry, hurt, but she said she's glad she found out now instead of after the wedding. Her family is furious. The Parkong alliance is dead. My father is threatening legal action. It's a mess. Good, Zara said without sympathy. You deserve the mess. Ido. He watched Hannah swing higher and higher, her laughter carrying across the park. What's she like? Tell me about her. So Zara did. She told him about Hannah's love of drawing, her stubborn streak, her curiosity about everything. She told him about the preschool teachers who said Hannah was bright but sometimes withdrawn, probably because she was processing having only one parent. She told him about the questions that got harder every year. Why don't I have a daddy like other kids? Doesn't he love me? By the end, Tamine was crying again. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know. I thought about you every day. I hated myself for leaving, but by the time I realized what a mistake I'd made, too much time had passed. I didn't know how to come back. You could have tried. You could have called, visited, sent a damn letter. You could have fought for us. I was weak. I was scared. My father said terrible things would happen if I didn't comply, to you, to the baby. I thought I was protecting you by staying away. That's a lie you told yourself to feel better, Zara said harshly. You stayed away because it was easier, because facing us meant facing what you'd done. He didn't argue, couldn't argue because she was right. Hannah came running over, breathless and pink-cheeked. Mommy, did you see how high I went? I did, baby. You were flying. She looked at Tamine shyly. Are you really my daddy? Yes, he said, his voice thick. I really am. Okay. She processed this with a child's simple logic. Will you push me on the swing? Tamine looked at Zara, asking permission. She nodded. She watched as he followed Hannah to the playground, watched as he carefully pushed her swing, watched as her daughter's face lit up with joy. This was what Hannah had wanted. Not money or grand gestures, just a father who was present. Zara's phone rang. John Kwan. You got what you wanted, he said when she answered. The wedding is ruined. The alliance is dead. The family's reputation is damaged. Congratulations. I didn't do this for revenge, Zara said, though she wasn't sure that was entirely true. Didn't you? Either way, Tamine's made his choice. He's leaving the family. What? He told the chairman this morning. He's out. No more business, no more obligations. He's choosing his daughter over the family. Zara's chest tightened. That's dangerous for him, isn't it? Probably. The chairman doesn't take betrayal well. But I'll do what I can to protect him. Tamine's my cousin, and despite everything, I love him. A pause. Take care of him, Zara, and take care of yourself. Seoul isn't always kind to people who embarrass powerful families. The call ended. Zara sat with that warning, watching Tamine and Hannah, He'd given up everything. His family, his inheritance, his future. For a daughter he'd only just met. It didn't erase what he'd done. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to leave us a comment. Also share and subscribe to our channel, and click on the notification bell to get notified when a new story comes up. Don't forget to tell us where